In today's video, I'm going to be meal prepping a full day of eating at 2,500 calories and over 174 grams of protein. If you're sick of tiny meals and boring food, then this video is for you. Every single meal we're making today is high protein, high volume, delicious, and guaranteed to keep you full. So let's get cooking. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is actually start our second meal, which is this loaded sweet potato. And the reason for that is it's just going to take about 50 minutes in the air fryer. We're going to give it a quick wash. And just remember, this potato is like 700 grams, so it's going to be for 2 servings. And then once we finish drying it, we're going to grab a fork and poke some holes into it. Then we're going to grab the air fryer, and before we put this in the air fryer, we're just going to put some oil over it. If you've got some spray, that's fine, just spray it over it. Make sure it gets over the whole potato. Then we're just going to put that inside the air fryer, but because I'm obviously going to be cooking in the kitchen, I'm going to move this into the lounge room so it's out of the way and it's not as noisy. So that sweet potato is on for 50 minutes in the air fryer at 170 degrees. So our first meal is going to be a high protein breakfast bagel. You're obviously going to need bagels. Then for the meat, we're going to use pastrami, but any meat does the job. I usually use ham, pastrami, or silverside. Sometimes I'll use bacon and I'll try and get the low fat bacon. Kewpie mayo for the sauce, not needed. Cottage cheese, 50 grams of avocado, 1 egg. So this one's a good one for breakfast because it's just full of healthy fats and protein, which is obviously going to keep us full for the day, and it still has a good mixture of carbohydrates to make sure we're performing at our best. We're going to need a pan. I think I'll use a big pan though, because I'm going to toast the bagels on the pan. You don't need to toast the bagels on the pan. I prefer them on the pan so the top's still soft, but you can put them in a toaster if you prefer that a little bit faster. So we're going to cut our bagel in half. I don't have any spray oil, but we're going to put some oil in the bottom there. Ideally you got spray oil, just a little bit of a spray. Bottom down so that bit gets crunchy, but the top stays nice and fluffy and soft. While we wait for our pan to heat up, we're going to mix the egg and 30 grams of low fat cottage cheese, basically all protein. I'll also put a little bit of salt and pepper. So one of my favorite things with this meal, not only is it super easy to make, everything can be made at the same time. So if you're making 4 batches, obviously you just cook 4 bagels, but you can just mix 4 eggs, 4 times the cottage cheese. Everything's nice and easy. It's not like you need to cook every single batch separate. If you don't want to cook the egg and cottage cheese together, you can also just spread the cottage cheese on the bagel. So that's all mixed. We'll set that to the side and get back to our pan. So we're going to give it a drizzle of olive oil. Again, if you got spray, probably better. Put them face down, rub that oil in. Give them a couple of minutes and they should be toasted. While they're cooking, we'll just get the other ingredients ready so we can just assemble it nice and easy. So we've got our slice of cheese there. We've got our pastrami. We're going to use half the pastrami, so 40 grams in this recipe, and we're going to save 40 grams for one of our other recipes. Pastrami, then we'll slice up 50 grams of avocado. All right, we've got the cheese, pastrami, avocado, and obviously Kewpie on the side. Our bagels are done. So nice golden brown there, a little bit extra on the edge. If you want to make it more even, you can weight it down. So we'll sit them there and get on to cooking our eggs. So again, we'll just go with a splash of olive oil, ideally the spray. Now that pan's obviously very hot from the bagel, so it's going to cook really fast here. We don't want to overcook them. So let it go for about 10 seconds and then we'll give it the first mix. So we're not even going to put that back on the heat. It's hot enough there. I'm a super messy cook. So the cottage cheese and pastrami is the protein source for this meal, along with obviously just a little bit in the bagel and the other things we got on the plate there, like the cheese. All right, so that's looking pretty good there. You want to make sure it doesn't have that dry look in it. It's got some juice or wetness, whatever you want to say. We'll move the camera and we'll put it together. So I'm going to sit the piece of cheese on top of our eggs. That's just going to get a little bit melted before we put it on. We're going to start with the avocado, which is sliced up. All right, so we've got our avocado on the bottom there. We're going to put our pastrami on next. So we've got 3 slices, 40 grams. You can see that cheese is starting to get a bit soft. I'm going to sit that on top. Then we're going to finish it off with our Kewpie. So roughly 5 grams, 5 to 10 grams, whatever your calories allow you to. And then we're going to put the bottom, but meant to be at the top. We have our breakfast bagel. So this has got 33 grams of protein and 540 calories. Obviously you can remove a lot of stuff, change the cheese around, even get different bagels to make it a whole lot less calories or more calories depending on your goals. I'm gonna need 2 minutes here. I'm gonna clean all this up and then we'll get on to our next meal, which is gonna be our dessert. slash snack. I usually have this one either pre-workout or for dessert at night when I'm a little bit hungry. I'll flip the camera around. We're now working on this side of the island thingamajig in the kitchen. Air fryer's not there. It was very, very loud. It's now in the bedroom. So yeah, that is. And I also cleaned up so bloody fast that I think I'm sweating. I'm literally sweating. Anyway, on to the second meal. So second meal, we have a fruit yogurt bowl thing. I don't know. I don't really have a name for this one. We're gonna have blueberries, cinnamon, granola, homemade that one. Optional sweetener, so low calorie, basically 0 calorie sweetener. Some apple in a can, a little bit easier. Obviously, get the whole food if you can. Banana and the yogurt. Because the blueberries are frozen, we're gonna start with 200 grams. I'll measure it out. Again, a really good thing with this meal especially, but all the meals, is everything can just be subbed in or out more or less of for whatever your goals obviously are. So we'll put this in a microwave for about a minute. Fresh blueberries are better, but they're like cost an arm and a leg. They're like $7 a punnet, and I don't want to spend that much on fresh blueberries. While that's in the microwave, very, very, very important reminder, keep hydrated. I am sweating, as I said, after cleaning up. That's good water. Oh, that's great water. Cold. Working hard. And the main reason I like this meal if it's before bed is it's obviously super high in volume, so it keeps me full at night, makes it feel like I'm having a lot more than I actually am calorie wise. And two, if I have it as a pre-workout, it's really good because it's low in fat, which makes the digestion easy and fast. It's also got a good mixture of fructose and glucose, which means our body's going to absorb it. The different pathways, so we're going to absorb it faster and we can absorb more per hour. And obviously if you have the protein yogurt too, it's a good amount of protein to maximize muscle growth or help muscle growth. All right, we got our blueberries. So 300 grams of the protein yogurt. I have the Farmers Union. I find this one is not gritty like the other proteins and it's really smooth and creamy. I probably would prefer fresh apple, but like I said, it's so much quicker with a canned apple. So we're gonna go half a can here, which is 125 grams. And then we're gonna go our banana. So we don't need a chopping board, just a waste of time. Just gonna chop that in. From there, we're just gonna give it a good little mix before we put our cinnamon, granola, and sugar. Actually, put the sugar first so it can mix through. Just a little sprinkle there. Oh, I'm so messy. I know I probably should have just done this a lot prettier, but I don't care. I care a little bit, but not that much. So that is looking pretty damn good there. Hopefully it focuses. Obviously, lots of volume. Then we're gonna sprinkle some cinnamon over it. Again, optional. Then roughly 10 grams of granola. I did mention this one's homemade, really nice. And then I know exactly all the ingredients in it. Peanut butter, honey, protein powder, oats, and then 2 or 3 different seeds, almonds, pumpkin seed. I think that's about it actually. So all those things are whole foods except for the protein, which is nice. So roughly 10 grams sprinkled over the top. It's gonna add to our texture and flavor. So this snack, which is kind of big, almost a meal, is holy shit. 500 calories and it's got 30 grams of protein in it. When I do have it as a pre-workout, I just remove the yogurt and keep it all carbs basically. I think roughly 300 calories then. We'll sit that there with our breakfast bagel and we are banging through these meals. So again, I'm gonna do a bit of a cleanup and then we'll get on to making our sweet potato, which is, no, it's probably not my personal favorite, this one, but it is a very good one still. We are now on to meal 3, which is our loaded sweet potato. So got our sweet potato over there, grab that. Holy shit. Usually I'll put my meat, so the pastrami in this case, but bacon, ham, whatever I usually use. For the last 5 minutes that's cooking, I usually put it in the air fryer just to get a little bit crunchy. So I'll do that now. So I'll take roughly 3 minutes or so at 200 degrees. While that's cooking, I'm gonna chop my potato in half. So nice and soft, probably a tad hard in the middle, but decently soft. We'll use this half here. So for this one, we're gonna need our Kewpie mayo again, meat in there, potato there. Gonna go with some sour cream, so light sour cream. And probably the most important part, the mince. So I've got some leftover kangaroo mince from last night. I'm gonna use that. Usually I either use kangaroo mince or the low fat beef mince. Most people don't like kangaroo, so probably beef mince will be good, but I absolutely love kangaroo, super nutritious too. So we're gonna cut that in the middle, half open it up like that. Oh, we also need cheese. So usually I use shredded mozzarella and sprinkle it over, but unfortunately that's been used and I don't have any. So I'm gonna slice up some of this cheese to make it look like sliced cheese. No, to make it look like shredded cheese. And we'll use that instead. So you want 40 grams. So every single meal, almost every single meal here is actually in my recipe book, which is linked in the description. It's got 30 plus protein, high protein meals. So if you want to grab that, grab that. Get a chopping board and I'll start with slicing this cheese up. So just pretend this was shredded cheese. Put our shredded cheese in the middle there. Potato is going to melt that. If your potato is a little bit cold like mine is, just chuck it in the microwave for 30 seconds, which I'm gonna do. While that's in the microwave, I got my pastrami here. Once that cools down, it'll be crunchy. Set that to the side and we'll chop that up in a second. So we've got a melted cheese there. Hopefully it's focusing. We're gonna want 125 grams of mince. Because this mince is cooked, I'm gonna go 100 grams because it's probably lost about 20-25% of its weight due to the water coming out of it. We'll cut up our pastrami with my steak knife. We've upgraded knives. All right, we've got a pastrami there, a potato. I'll zoom the camera in. Just gonna put our beef in. Gonna go 1 to 2 tablespoons of sour cream. I'm gonna go roughly 1.5 here. From there, I'm gonna sprinkle over the pastrami. Now we only used 1 slice of cheese. We can actually use 2 here. That's what I put down in the recipe, 40 grams. So I'm gonna get another slice, put it over the top there. Hopefully it melts a little bit. Ideally you do have that shredded cheese. I actually like to do half shredded cheese, half Parmesan, because the Parmesan's got a little bit stronger of a flavor. So the last thing I'm gonna do this one is just put out Kewpie mayo, 10 grams roughly. And that is another meal done. So this one here comes out to around about 600 calories and 50 grams of protein. So great meal there for the protein and calories for the amount you get. On to our last meal now, which is the smashed tacos. We are going to need tacos. Beef mince, which is 5% fat, so low fat. Shredded cheese, an onion, some lettuce. We're gonna do Kewpie again. In the recipe book, I have a homemade Big Mac sauce, which we use, but I like Kewpie and it's faster. You can also add pickles. I usually add pickles. I don't have the pickles with me, on me, here, right now, no pickles. We're gonna make the patties, but first I'm gonna put a pan on because that won't take too long. Heat the pan up, get it ready. Use that big pan again, which I washed up before in about 12 seconds. That was when I was sweating. Put that on medium heat, a little bit higher. From there, we're gonna make 4 tacos. So each taco is gonna have 50 grams of mince. So we'll get to our scales. 4 tacos are gonna be roughly half a small onion, which is what we got here. So you wanna leave the end on your onion. That way you can slice it like this. And then slice it once or twice through the middle. And then from there, you can dice it, and the end, you're not really throwing away the onion, you're just throwing away the shitty end. Slice once through the middle because it's a small onion. Fingers, knuckles. I'm also not a chef, so that's wrong. That's wrong. But it works for me. A little bit of tears. It's gonna need out 50 grams of mince. We're gonna roll 4 50-gram balls up. So we got our 4 patties with the onion on there. So we're gonna smash it onto the taco now, then we're gonna put it onto the pan. You can also grab the corn tacos instead of the flour tacos. They are a lot less calories, like half the calories. So we're gonna make sure the onion side's up, squish that down, and just spread it out over the taco. It's gonna shrink a little bit when we do cook it. So they should look somewhat like that. So super messy, but we got our 4 tacos. Now we're gonna go to the pan, cook them. Give it a sprinkle of olive oil. So you want to make sure this pan's really hot. That's why we've had it heating up the whole time we're doing that. From there, we're gonna cook 2 at a time. All right, so they should take a couple minutes each, and then we're gonna flip them over. When we flip them over, we're gonna grab the sliced cheese. So I didn't actually need the shredded cheese, which worked out well there. Gonna grab the sliced cheese, put it on top so it melts as the bottom of it cooks a little bit to make it that crunchy. We're up to the flipping part now. Now, when I turn this, I should see the onion cooked and obviously the meat. So perfectly, that's what we wanna see. There's a little bit of brownness there on the taco, the meat's cooked and the onion's crispy. So once we flip those over, gonna grab half a slice of cheese. So we've got a triangle bit here. Gonna put that in the middle on both of those. We'll let that taco cook. You can see it's starting to puff up a bit there. That cheese can melt at the same time. So this part here, you won't need long, maybe a minute, if that. All right, so that's done. If we turn it over, see, golden brown the bottom. So we'll sit that on the plate, let the cheese keep melting. All right, so usually I'll have some pickles here too, but I'm just gonna use the lettuce and kewpie. So we'll sprinkle our lettuce. Before we do, you can see that cheese, it's all melted on there. So we'll sprinkle our lettuce. We're roughly 5 grams of kewpie on it. A bit of salt and pepper. Remember to hydrate. Shit. All right, we've got our other two coming along. All right, that's our final meal done there. This one comes out to 900 calories, so a little bit more. I usually have this one for dinner. It's got 65 grams of protein though, so lots of protein in this one. And that is all 4 of our meals done. So we'll see what it looks like all together. Super high volume, all very, very tasty. These 3 here, they're all in the recipe book, which is below, which has 30 plus high protein meals. All in all, 2,500 calories here, 174 grams of protein, good amount of fat still, and lots of carbs to make sure you can perform in and out of the gym. If you're not 100% sure on how many calories you should be eating or your macros, what they should be, my coaching link's also in the description. But other than that, hopefully you enjoyed the video, got lots of value out of this, and you enjoy the food when you make it yourself. I'll catch you in the next one.